Hey folks, how you doing? I'm here in my clinical practice. It's the end of the day. I've had a full day already. People are still working on the next door operatory. But what I wanted to do is answer a question that I come up online, and I figured it merits a whole conversation. And that is the question of which technique, of all the techniques and protocols that I have shared with you over the past few years, which one do I end up using most clinically myself? And I think that question has been an evolving kind of an issue. As you know, I've talked and described about many different techniques and protocols, but I find that more and more I'm using the EndoSequence blend protocol clinically as the most efficient and versatile combination of instrumentation. Of course, I still do use the ESR as well as the ESX instrumentation, as well as the XP in retreatments, but I'm using more and more the EndoSequence blend, which is a combination of austenitic and martensitic files of different designs in order to get the most benefit of each file in a given situation. So what I wanted to do in this little video is to share with you how I use the EndoRing 2 as an organizational tool to implement this protocol of EndoSequence blend using the austenitic and martensitic files. Hi folks, I just wanted to demonstrate the EndoSequence blend hands-on program using the block and the EndoSequence files in the blend protocol with the EndoSync. So basically, let's just quickly go over the setup on the EndoRing. The EndoRing is a nice organizational tool to put together your files clinically so that, first of all, you and your assistant can have a EndoRing and have a calibration between the rulers as a metal ruler, so you can have the reading that stays true between your reading and what your assistant ends up doing. But what I have is I have the setup for the EndoSequence blend files in the same way, just from a charting or organizational point of view, in the same exact way as we have in the technique card, so that we start with the orifice opener followed by the size 10 hand file, and then we have the size 30, which is the most important instrument in the blend protocol, which it actually triages the case into, or the canal that you're dealing with, into either large, in which case then you move up in sizes from a size 30 up to 35, 40, and continues all the way to size 80 as needed, basically. And if it's a small canal, then you're going to move down in sizes with the EndoSequence scouts that are heat treated. The way you determine whether your canal is a large or small is based on how the size 30 EndoSequence is advancing in the canal after 1 to 2 rhythm motions. If the instrument is down to the apex, within 1 to 2 rhythm motions, you have a large canal and follow the protocol in the large direction, which is go to a 35 and 40 as needed. You finish basically when you have clean dentinal chips. If it's the size 30 does not reach the apex within 1 to 2 light rhythm motions, you're not trying to force it to the apex, you're just trying to put the 30 in there lightly and see how far it goes and where it goes so that you can triage the canal. And if it doesn't reach the apex, then what you're going to do is you're going to switch and move down in size in a crown down fashion using now heat treated modified landed files with the hero design that are the EndoSequence scouts. So you start with the size 25 and then you go down to a size 20 and so on and so forth. The key here is you move down in size until one file reaches the apex, and then you move back up in size and finish with a master file with either with a size 25 or a 30 as a minimum. Here in the hands-on protocol, you're basically going to have all of these instruments on there, but since the block that you're going to be using is actually a small canal, then these instruments, which is the size 35 and 40, are pretty much not needed. In fact, in the hands-on, this block, you will see that you're able to do, even without the size 20, that sizes, the orifice opener a size 10 hand file, the size 30 EndoSequence, and the 25 scout is all that is needed to complete this block. So I'm going to put away these 3 files so that you don't get confused with them being on there. But know that clinically the protocol is basically that you're going to have to triage each canal that you're dealing with, that this is not a universal protocol to use in all canals, but rather the one that is needed in this block. So what we're going to do here is we're going to start as usual with the orifice opener, and basically the torque setting and the speed that we're going to have here normally for all of the blend protocol would be to use a 500 RPM with an 0.6 Newton centimeter OTR torque. However, in the block, because of the fact that the modified landed files will be binding in the resin due to the heat generation, we're going to basically turn the torque control off. So there's no OTR. We're going to use the 500 RPM but without any torque control so that we can get proper cutting in the block. Okay, so with that off, we're going to basically start by instrumenting using again just the rhythm motion. And the way that works is by having 1, 2, 3 light and kind of definitive motions. You can see with 3 light motions the chip space of the orifice opener is full. So we're going to basically clean that out and then continue with 3 more. 1, 2, 3. And keep in mind that clinically you may only use 1 rhythm motion with the orifice opener if you have a very tight canal. So at this point what you could do is you could use this instrument, your hand file, to just go in the canal a little bit and see what you have, or you can go all the way down to the apex and measure the full working length. And here we're going to just go to the apex and measure the full working length, and this is what we have. So we're going to measure it on the block with the EndoRing, and the reading that we have is 19 millimeters. Okay, so we have 19 millimeters, and what we're going to do is we're going to set up the size 30 at 19 millimeters and also the 25 at 19 millimeters. So the goal now is to use the size 30 with the rhythm motion and see how far it goes down the canal, and then go from there. So we're going to get this started. Start the motion. We get 1, 2, 3. So we have some cutting going on here, and the chip space is full, and we would be cleaning it usually using the endo swipe. Clinically, your assistant would be doing that, and you can see that each time the instrument is advancing a little bit more in the canal. And it's important to irrigate also. I'm not irrigating here, but clinically you would be irrigating between every 1 to 2 rhythm motions to remove the loose debris. And now the 30 is close to the apex, within 3 millimeters or so to the 3 millimeters. And now let's see where the 20 goes. And the 20, this is the file because it's heat treated, and that's the one that would bind a little bit. So you need to have good control over the head of the handpiece, and you can see that it's moving up close to the working length right now. So we clean that up, and the 20 is already at the working length. Perfect. So the 25 has reached the working length. And are we going to finish at 25? Well, no, actually. If it hadn't reached the working length within 2 rhythm motion, by the way, we would be moving down in size to a size 20 or even a 17 or a 15. But the 25 has reached the length already, so there's no reason to go any further down in sizes. It would be redundant. So what we're going to do is now we're going to move back up in size to a size 30, and at that point here, now we're going to use a size 30, and you can see that the size 30 now easily reaches the apex as well, removing the debris, and with 2 rhythm motions, we're already at the full working length with the size 30. So that's perfect. Now we're going to irrigate and clean out the loose debris that's in the block. And now it's time to fit our cone. So we're going to basically take our cone and measure it to be at 19 millimeters. And there it is. The cone is at 19 millimeters, and now the goal is to seat the cone all the way. And there it is. The cone is seated to the end. And there we go. We have nice tug back. The cone is being held in place, and that looks great. So at this point now we just have to fill in the gap between the cone and the block using a little bit of BC sealer, and that's the technique. Okay, as you saw, the EndoRing 2 is a nice organizational tool to implement the EndoSequence blend protocol as described in the technique card, all in one little setup. Of course, you and your assistant can have the same exact setup, or at least one of you can have the files and the other one would have the 2 rings that are calibrated with a ruler, and you can sterilize files that way as well. In terms of how many times you use an instrument or file, I still prefer single use, but in easy cases, you may be able to use these instruments at least once or so. But remember that most of the time, the cyclic fatigue is insidious and you cannot see it. So in order to have the safest way of instrumentation, make sure you dispose of your files on a routine basis. So that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, please post them below this video or put them in the forum area of our website in the Ask the Faculty questions section. And don't forget to share and like this video. And for Vivo Endo, I'm Ali Nese. Now let's save some teeth.